Gina, thank you so much for joining me on the Agentic Marketer, where we're taking a peek into today's leaders' tech stacks and AI strategy to learn how you're using AI agents to hit your pipeline targets. But before we dive in, I'd love to learn a little bit more about you and ROI DNA.
Yeah, thank you for having me today. I'm the head of marketing at ROI DNA. We are a full service B2B marketing agency. We've been around for over 15 years. We do everything, but we specialize in ABX strategy, digital marketing, SEO, web creative. But more recently, we've really been focused on helping our clients solve some of the bigger challenges that have come up from, entering this zero-click AI-driven world and really helping us solve for, some of those problems with gaining visibility, trust, and ranking.
Yeah, I feel like anyone that's listening to this probably is feeling that pain of the zero-click AI world. So I'm super excited to dig into a little bit more because it sounds like you just have so much experience with this world and where we're going with agentic and with AI. So with that being said, I'm curious, how would you define agentic marketing? Like, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, I think agentic marketing to me is definitely more about creating systems that can act on behalf of the marketer. So it's not just about, automating one-off tasks and things like that, but it's really about leaning in with agentic AI to, create outcomes, make decisions, learn, and truly give marketers back our most precious resource, which is time and the ability to really focus on the strategy and the creativity side of things.
That is incredibly true. And gosh, don't we wish we just had more time in the day? So recently, Gina, we named you to our top 30 agentic marketers to watch list, which congratulations. I feel like that was a very well-deserved honor.
Thank you.
The main focus of that list is we wanted to bring in marketers who were moving beyond like experimentation of AI and we're making it central to how they operate on day to day. So with that being said, I'm curious, what did you have to do at ROI DNA to like really make that leap from experimentation to leading with it and having it be a really integral part of your marketing team?
Yeah, I think that's a question that comes up a lot. Like, how do you move from experimentation to like making this like a true part of your systems? And I think it really starts with, building a system of accountability, governance, and measurement really early. And then, of course, having full alignment and adoption. We do a lot of ABX, ABM work.
Yeah.
And if you're a marketer and you're doing ABM, it's not just any one department or group's decision. It has to be an ecosystem with operations, exec team, marketing. And that's really how we approach agentic marketing and agentic AI as well. But really, I think going from experimenting and using it one off, like you have to have that system in place in order to really measure and see the benefits and get buy-in as a team.
Totally. And I'm curious, I think you have such a unique perspective because not only are you working internally as a head of marketing, but I'm sure you're working with a ton of other marketing teams as an agency. So where do you see AI and agents show up most visibly within your own organization or organizations that you're working with? And like, where are they seeing value with AI and agents?
Yeah, I think ROI is actually pretty unique in the fact that we have our own proprietary AI tools that run on agentic AI to kind of solve some of those issues I mentioned earlier. So we actually, in conjunction with our parent company, Hotwire Global, we have our AI Innovation AI Lab. And we've actually put out a couple of proprietary tools that help kind of solve these issues. So I think we're unique in the fact that, like, yes, we do work with a lot of customers who are grappling with this, but we've also kind of started getting ahead of the market and really shaping the outcomes ourselves through those tools. We have a couple of things. Our one of our first tools is our ROI DNA Spark, which helps solve for visibility in LLMs. So it helps in conjunction with our blueprint, our AI results blueprint. We help kind of map out where you stand in LLMs and how your brand is being cited, if it's ranking, if there's trust there, and what LLMs are saying. And we kind of give a blueprint to gaining better visibility and boosting citations and things like that. So it really helps with search discoverability, especially as, we see a zero-click world start to come to fruition and some of that really start to take shape. Some of the other things that we do, we have Ignite, which is a ABX personalization at scale. So it really helps take account research, market research from weeks down to, or from months down to weeks, and really helps you kind of get that true personalization on a one-to-one level. And then we have Radiate, which is a agentic tool that analyzes all the content and makes sure that it's going to help you rank and help be cited in LLMs. So there's a lot there, but it's like, using these tools really help us. It's like having an extra strategist embedded into everything we're doing across ABX and really help kind of make efficiencies and move quicker and get the right data.
Yeah, I love that you guys are focusing on that LLM and citations and rankings. I know from like personal experience and talking to other peers, that's just like such a hot topic right now. And going back to that zero click world, it just feels so nebulous and hard to understand. So I love that ROI is really focusing on that and bringing in like AI and agents into that world. So you've piqued my interest there.
Yeah. It's that, I mean, we've seen, through external research in the market and then through our own aggregated customer research, we've seen clicks drop off. And, it's a very real issue right now for a lot of marketers really trying to understand where to go in this landscape. So,
Totally. Now, I have one more question before we like dive more into your tech stack and get a little bit deeper into the questions here. But do you have a hot take about AI and marketing that most people wouldn't agree with?
yeah, that's a good question. I think it could go a lot of ways here, but I think right now, personalization, when we talk about that in ABX, I think right now it's that personalization is a differentiator right now for a lot of companies. Because I think a lot of people still struggle to do it right and do it well. But in the very near future, that's not going to be a differentiator at all. And it's going to be just table stakes.
Yep.
Through tools like Radiate and even our competitors like Profound and things like that, it's going to be more common that we'll see that in the market. And when that differentiator becomes obsolete or it's just the norm, what will replace that? And in my opinion, that's going to be trust. And that's going to be like the new currency for marketers, because that's not just something you build at the consideration phase or at the bottom of the funnel. That's something that goes all the way back up to the top of the funnel and very early, every touch point with your brand is going to broker and leverage trust in this new future.
I love that answer, and I could not agree more. I think trust, especially as AI is just helping us create more and like do more content, and like yes, it has so many benefits, but having to build trust in your brand, I think, is paramount. So that is, I agree with you. Shifting gears a little bit here into your current tech stack and what you're using. So you guys hired Piper, the AI SDR agent, which is very exciting. I am curious to learn from you, what was it about having an AI SDR that appealed to you and the team and made you lean into bringing an AI SDR onto your team?
Yeah, we're an agency and we're a very small team on our growth and marketing team. So we definitely needed a way to scale our inbound efforts and really take it to the next level. And obviously with Piper, we have an AI SDR that is an extension of our team. And we actually named her ROIer because if you work at ROI DNA, we consider ourselves ROIers. So it's natural that our Piper is ROIer. And so she really just acts as an extension of our team and really helps us scale that outreach and let our human SDRs focus on outbound and really supplementing what they're doing with the inbound leads that are coming in.
It's so fun to talk to customers and hear the different names that they've given to their Piper, the AI SDR. And I think ROIer might be my new favorite one.
That we were like, oh, that's a no-brainer. She has to be ROIer.
Okay, so on your team, what human tasks did Piper replace or supercharge? Like, is she fully replace certain tasks, or is she just like supercharging certain things within your organization?
Yeah, I think she definitely with the top of the funnel qualification for us, that is just completely owned by Piper, and she's really supercharged that effort. Also personalized follow-ups, I'm sorry, and meeting scheduling for us, doing all of that, kind of taking that off of our
Mhm.
team. And then the big thing for us is really that kind of just giving our new prospects a bit of initial product service line education, if you will. So I think, that was, something we rely on, like, oh, they're just going to browse the website and know what to look for, what they're interested in. But Piper's really just taken that to the next level. And not only are our inbound leads kind of coming in with a better understanding of what we do, what they're looking for, what service line they want to kind of focus on, but obviously through the data that Piper helps us, get clarity around, we've actually been able to come into that conversation with just a little bit more knowledge as well.
I love that. And I think, Piper ROIer, I think getting more pipeline and working this top of funnel, I think is a very prominent use case of what teams are looking for when they bring her on. But is there anything unexpected that Piper or ROIer helped unlock for your team?
Yeah, I would say, like, obviously we expected the efficiencies and the time back and all of that, but we got more data clarity, which I think was a big unlock that, like, we weren't really expecting, or to that level anyway. Like I kind of hinted at, we get such great insights that really just help us refine our messaging, our personas, even our content strategy, and get illuminate some areas where we, realize we need to beef up, or we see how actual prospects are engaging with and what their feedback is around certain areas. And we can kind of, it's like an ever evolving, ongoing way to kind of keep your content fresh and responsive to the ways that your buyers are ingesting it.
Totally. I feel like we've run into the exact same thing, and it was such an unexpected use case that we weren't really thinking of. So it's good to hear that ROI has found that same benefit of bringing on Piper. Now, when you think about bringing on an AI SDR, or honestly just any agent, when you think about it from a marketing perspective, and again, I think you bring such a unique POV because you work with so many other teams and marketers. Who do you think needs to be convinced internally when you're trying to bring on these agents? Is there a blocker that you tend to see within an organization that needs that convincing? Or did you find it was like fairly easy to say, hey, we want to bring on a more agentic approach to our marketing?
Yeah, I think, for like I mentioned before, there's always that buying center, that buying system, a group of people who need to have buy-in. For us, we've always been a huge supporter of qualified, and we've seen the actual numbers and the data that really highlights the win. I think for a lot of our clients, so when they're considering either qualified or any other kind of agentic tool, they really need to be able to show quick wins and tangible metrics. And I think that's what's so beautiful about Piper, is that that's all built in and part of what you can really, it makes measurement so easy. And so I think that's, the people who need convincing, it's always going to be around metrics and actual revenue, right? So that's kind of where we focus that in on.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. It's the people who are asking about like ROI, which not no pun intended, but like what's the ROI? What are the wins? Like how is it actually making an impact to the bottom line? Which I think is so interesting that you say that, because I think prior to this AI era and evolution and agentic era, that was always the case. Like I feel like if you're making a new business case for a new tool, it was always you had to prove ROI. I just think it feels so much different now, but at the crux of it, it still hasn't changed all that much. So it's great to hear you, I guess, reaffirm that that is still what you're going to need to bring to your buying committee, is like, yes, this is going to make an impact on the metrics that we still care about.
Yeah, and we've have so many clients who have great case studies through, the first 30, 60, 90 days of using Piper, that just, the proof is in the pudding there, as we say. And once you really see what it can do, that unlock is it kind of it's so easy.
And we just talked about metrics. Is there a specific metric or metrics that you watch, whether it's at ROI or at your customers, to make sure that it's working? Like, what is that thing that you can bring to your buying committee and say, like, yeah, it's impacting this?
Yeah, I think, for us, we're looking at, a broad swath of metrics. This is what we advise our clients. So you never look at any one thing to really measure success. You got to look at the big picture, the ecosystem. And for us, we're looking at, response rate, like especially when we do these big events and things where our inbound naturally will tick up and we have a big flux of people coming to the site. Maybe your human SDRs aren't going to be able to get to it in time, things like that. Like that's a really good thing to look at right out the gate, is how much volume stays consistent. We also look at lower funnel metrics like pipeline opportunities, pipeline velocity, seeing how quickly those things can progress. And then, tangentially, we also have like our human SDR efficiency lift and like, how are they feeling? How is this, kind of complementing? And I have yet to meet anyone who has not found that to be, such a boost to their day to day too. So
Absolutely. And I sound like a broken record, but I love doing this show and I like talking to people like you because, again, it reaffirms that the metrics are the same as they were. Like, it's just a tool to help you get to those metrics and you can scale your team. You don't necessarily need like the same headcount budget, or you can do it at like a much higher scale. But all the things you're talking about of like pipeline and velocity and efficiency of our SDR team, like those were all metrics. Every time I talk to customers, I'm always like, it's the same metrics you would have looked at before. You shouldn't just lose sight of those. You're going to want to keep measuring those exact same
absolutely.
things and seeing the lift. So I'm glad to hear you say that's what you guys are doing at ROI and with your customers as well.
Yes.
Now you talked to us at Piperfest. This was a couple months ago. And you also mentioned it earlier on the show about how AI is reshaping search and buyer behavior. So with that in mind, what do you think is the single biggest change that will happen to B2B marketing in the next 12 months?
Oh, that's a big question. I think a lot. I think in the last 12 months, there has been just massive, significant change to the way that B2B buyers are researching, finding brands, trusting brands, making purchase decisions. I feel like that measurement and attribution hasn't really quite caught up
Yeah.
to this new kind of buyer behavior. And I think over the next year, we're going to see that start to catch up and look at measurement in different ways. I talked a lot about trust earlier on. I think that's going to kind of play a role into things as well. You're going to see kind of some like classical marketing kind of tactics and measurement points kind of come back and resurface as you kind of think through ways to really broker a system of trust with your buyers. So I think measurement is really going to see some changes over the next year to kind of catch up with this new zero-click world, AI-driven era.
Yep, absolutely. On that same note, are there any skills that you think marketers need to double down on in order to thrive in an AI-driven world? Like if you were looking at another head of marketing or demand gen or something, what are some skills you think like, hey, you need to make sure you've got these down right now in this AI era?
Yeah, I think the things that need to be doubled down on are, the strategic portions of our role, right? Strategic synthesis and really kind of connecting that to what AI is doing. Your humanity, that component of human judgment, your narrative and your storytelling, your ability to bring that to the table is also how you're going to broker trust and build upon that and really bring that human element to your marketing. I think along with like data governance and ethics, like that's going to be an area where marketers should really start paying attention to now. That way you're not, left behind.
Totally. And then what do you think something in a year from now teams will still be getting wrong with AI?
I think it's probably going to be around personalization, truthfully, because I think a lot of B2B teams are still getting it wrong today.
Never got it right.
I think personalization, maybe this is another hot take, but it's kind of like a house of cards, right? It's like propped up on a house of cards where like you may have nailed it really well, or you may be kind of using AI swap, as we like to call it, to kind of keep things just personalized enough, but where it completely misses the mark still. And I think, the consideration phase is already a very delicate phase of the buyer journey. And so like if you're, coming in with a personalized message that just lands completely wrong, like you have the potential to like blow a deal. And just ruin all credibility and trust. So again, it goes back to that, but I think it's better to like not do personalization if you're not going to do it well, and just kind of stick with like broader intent messaging or problem solution language, because that is just such a core critical moment in the buyer journey.
I totally agree. Now, I want to wrap up the episode with one of my favorite sections, which is our lightning round. So I have a handful of questions that are just like quick hits that I'd love to jump into to wrap things up.
All right.
The first one is, what was the first AI tool that you tested out as a marketer?
Definitely ChatGPT.
I feel like that is our most common answer. And yes, same. Okay, what is the most overrated buzzword in MarTech right now?
I probably said it like 5 or 6 times throughout this interview, but personalization at scale. I mean, what word do marketers say that's not a buzzword, right?
Our
We're
whole
pretty
vocabulary.
notorious.
Yeah, our whole vocabulary is essentially just built on a buzzword. I would say the same, like, oh, it's such a buzzword, and then I hear myself use it later. I'm like, well, I am very guilty of this.
Same.
Okay, who's a marketer that you follow who you think's ahead of the curve on AI right now?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Anol Bhattacharya. He is our lead in Hotwire and ROI DNA on all things AI and innovation, agentic marketing. He puts out a lot of content on LinkedIn, and he's super smart, super sharp, and has some really great perspectives on where this is going.
That's awesome. Okay, last question. If you could automate one part of your life with AI outside of work, what would it be?
Mm. I would have to say either like meal prep or cleaning my toddler's high chair. That one is just an unbelievable time suck at every meal. It's crazy.
I could not agree more. I remember thinking, I was like, man, can I use AI to fix baby sleep? Like, is that a thing? But no,
That somebody's going to come up with that.
someone will, and I might have missed the time when it would have benefited me. But I agree, the meal prep one would be very beneficial, and I try to make it work for that, and it usually doesn't so far. So fingers crossed it gets better. Okay, Gina. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. It was great to hear from you. I really appreciate you taking the time.
All right. Thank you so much.